The Queen is coming.
What? Why was I not informed?
No one was informed, Your Majesty. She just appeared.
King George's hidden struggles finally come to light, as well as the extreme measures he has taken for a chance of future happiness with Charlotte. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm, and today I am reviewing episode number 4 of Queen Charlotte. As always, spoilers abound, so just be aware. And with that, we are on to episode 4, everyone. Of course, last time, Charlotte and George grudgingly performed their marital duties, while Lady Danbury was able to host the first ball of the season, and Brimsley is going to spy something curious on Coronation Day. Now, this episode is actually the episode I've been waiting for a lot of people, because our first 3 episodes have been situations where we're sort of seeing the story from everyone else's point of view, especially Charlotte's point of view. Now we're sort of going to see what's actually going on from the king's point of view. So some of this is going to be repetitious. And with that, you're going to see sort of the answer of what was going on. So with that, let's get started with episode number 4, Holding the King.
Reynolds and I are perfectly.
Am I not permitted to watch the king?
It is just not usual.
Okay, so Charlotte taking a more active role in what is going on.
King out of a hole in the vegetable garden where he was busy discoursing with the sky. Is that usual?
Okay, great question there.
Majesty, the King has not been himself lately.
What is this?
Reynolds opening up.
Cuts his own trail now and then, but nothing better for driving a plow. Purpose.
Okay, so now here's our basic
The
flashback.
2 of these horses can accomplish in a day what took a team of oxen a week. You shall learn.
And so his farming.
I believe she has found you a bride.
Oh, and here's where that's revealed.
And I remind you how uninterested I am in the qualities of noble
Your
women.
Majesty.
Ah, and he was not very happy.
Now I ask, is that all a king is? A royal stud horse trotted out?
Yeah, he's having some issues with this.
Tell me, what would the people prefer? A royal baby or cheap bread?
Right now, they have neither.
Yes. Tell him. He's acting a little...
War has drained our coffers. Now the American colonies threaten to withhold taxes.
Okay. Yeah, like that's the first...
Limburg Strelitz.
A German? How exotic.
I like that that's basically the first time, and really the only time, they've mentioned the American colonies.
No moon, no moon, no lunas, no lunas, no longitude. No longitude.
Okay, so he was having issues here.
The symptoms remain consistent with an inflamed cerebellum.
So we get some doctors coming in.
Condition is not merely physical, but nervous.
Do you understand?
And that is our good doctor.
Dr. John Munro of the Bethlehem Hospital.
Okay. He doesn't get a lot of respect from those doctors.
Are we to believe this malady can be cured with one's voice?
Well, he's going to try lots of things to cure it.
You are the King of England.
I like the way he started that.
You can command yourself too.
Okay, that's nice.
You're to marry in a week. Are you fit to marry, George?
Okay, now this first set of clips here, the big thing I just want to mention is, this was very surprising in this episode when I was watching through this originally, because, the first 3 episodes were very disturbing to me. I thought George was a jerk. I did not like his character at all. The way he treated Charlotte, just the way he acted in general. And that wasn't just because he was King George III and the American colonies and all that. It was because he was acting like a literal jerk. And then
Do not
this
gawk like a
episode,
peasant. Behave
basically
as though you
replaying
think
everything from that point until later. And we get to see what was really happening. So getting ready for the wedding here.
There is a problem.
What have you done now, Brimsley?
Bride is missing.
I like how the king is just sitting over there like, oh, what's up? Let's go look for the wife.
No bride, no wedding.
If your bride is missing, it is your responsibility to remedy that.
Okay, so the doctor had some influence here. Oh, God, just if those guards would have finished him right there, it'd have been so nice. So now he's out there looking for Charlotte.
Hello, my lady. Are you in need of assistance of some kind?
And then he meets her. And we get the wedding. I like the wedding.
What is the surprise? Where are you taking it?
You will see. Just wait.
The surprise was a little surprising to me.
My mistake. I thought you were just George.
That was a great line there because he had told her just George earlier.
Right, Majesty.
And he sort of climbed out of that carriage. He might be feeling a little guilty. You know, he's realizing, I don't know.
Shows the troll I am.
Okay, he's taking that to heart,
Will your
be
Majesty
called a
not be
troll.
returning to Buckingham House?
I have done as they asked. I married. Now I shall leave her alone.
Okay, that's
Depends
simple
my
view, but okay.
Planets, my stars, they at least I can be sure not to harm. Good night, Reynolds.
Okay, so he's
The Queen
really into these
What?
stars
Why
and
was I not
science.
informed?
No one was informed, Your Majesty. She just appeared.
And then, whoops, the queen just decides to show up.
The observatory, Your Majesty.
I love this part. I thought this was one of the better little parts of the movie when she took the initiative.
But she is standing up to him.
Okay, and of course we get to see their relationship.
Perhaps it is bad.
And of course it's not great to
Pulled
start
myself
with.
apart. I do not know a single soul here except for you.
And this was
You.
a strong
Fight with
dialogue
me.
by her.
Fight for me.
Go home, Charlotte.
And when the stress gets to him,
Well,
he
there
becomes
are a few
very
advantages to being
mean
monarch.
king.
One of them is you get the best stuff.
Okay. Now, this section of clips, basically, we're getting into those early days. Of course, the marriage and those few days afterwards when she returns to her house and ends up basically going to be living there alone. And I love this section in that she takes the initiative and says, Reynolds, Brimsley, we are going to see the king. And goes to see the king. And I like that. And I think it shows her strength and power.
Most proven treatments, keeping the cutting edge of his methods to himself.
All right, talking about this evil doctor.
Queen were to ever see me like that, if she were to flee from me, God forbid, if I were to hurt her.
So he's extremely concerned about hurting her.
Something to end the fits forever.
And so, talking about some pretty deep stuff here.
And license to pursue more extreme measures.
All right, this daggone doctor wanting to do even worse stuff.
Whatever you have to do, we have the time and privacy of my honeymoon.
So he was using that honeymoon period in order to try to get
You
better.
require solitude. You are dismissed.
Ooh, This is not good.
Again,
I mean, why did you ever think this would be a good idea?
above all, you have never learned to.
And I really like that whole series and sequence.
That is the origin of your fits.
And the fact that he's just putting his faith into this crazy doctor. But I love comparing the scenes of him getting in the torture chair and her eating a great dinner.
Until then, I shall.
And then, of course, there's the dog.
We have been at this for days. How much longer?
Okay, so the king not really realizing.
Is a broken king really better than a mad one?
I do not call it the terrific.
Okay, so the king, he
Science and
understands.
force of will, the Germans transformed their wolves into this.
Interesting story there. I'm not sure.
What would you have the king do?
A gesture?
A gesture.
A gesture.
Okay, I remember this part.
Is your majesty quite all right?
Of course, why wouldn't I be?
All right.
Do as he pleases. His majesty could be with her right now.
I can't take the risk.
Okay, so he didn't want to risk hurting her.
It's too dangerous for a man like me.
Or maybe a perfect match.
Reynolds would know.
Ready the carriage, Reynolds. We're going to Buckingham House.
Okay, and so really the big thing here that I think is a takeaway is we're trying to see he was distancing himself from Charlotte in those first 3 episodes, and it's all mostly because really 2 things. He was afraid he could hurt her, possibly physically. I'm not sure they actually said that, but I think it was definitely implied. But also he could hurt her just mentally, but also he was afraid of getting hurt, in that he was scared that she might see what was going on and want to leave, and that would destroy him.
Playing chess with herself. She is mad.
Okay. I love that he called her mad.
She may miss her husband.
I think I miss her too.
Oh, good.
Your majesty might provide the queen a gesture.
A gesture?
A gesture. Love this. Love this.
Majesty will require his attention.
On the contrary.
He knows exactly what he's going to do.
Fitting present.
So they steal the dog. That's awesome. I love that.
Cage unlatched, and the stupid beast nowhere to be found.
Whoopsie. Okay, that's important. I was wondering about this.
She called it a deformed bunny.
Deformed bunny. I love that.
Stoutest in the field. You cannot know until they have a chance to try.
It's also important that his mom had sent him the letter to consummate the
I
marriage.
shall dine with my wife.
So this is sort of what got him headed over there. He got some confidence.
We could work together.
Okay, these 2 together, they make a cute couple. I'll be honest, this scene gave me chills when it happened in real time. Because you didn't know exactly what Reynolds was going to do. And I remember this when it happened first. I loved this whole scene.
Charlotte, if you'll just give me a chance. Charlotte, stop walking this instant.
And then, I mean, he's really coming back around for her.
One evening of your time. Allow me to show you where my mind has been.
So you take her to look at the stars.
It's Buckingham House.
I'm coming home to Buckingham House.
Yeah, you should have always been at Buckingham House.
Directed the men to find you quarters there, though I am afraid our consultations may become rather less frequent.
I love that idea.
I need to know if you have properly bedded her.
Oh boy, down to this subject again.
Shall I send for the doctor, Your Majesty?
Yes, get him here.
Okay, so he starts suffering again.
Are you not well?
Was that not up to your standards? Because
You
I
saw
feel
a
that was...
And now she's questioning him. And let's talk about this series of slides. This basically is the idea of the king going back to live with the queen, with Charlotte, at Buckingham House. And with that, I love how all this sort of happened, and he sort of moved away from needing the doctor, although near the end he does have the attack. And going back to that whole scene with Reynolds and the king when he was having one of his fits, and then was able to control it because Reynolds came up and put a hand on his shoulder. That, if you think about it, that would have been huge in those days for the king's man to come up and just put a hand on the shoulder of the king.
Anything accomplished for me has been the work of my bride. Her methods have done more for me than you and your chair ever could.
Uh-oh. Putting the doctor on the spot.
Peas was the potential ruin of England. An incorrect sum at mathematics, the potential ruin of England.
And I like this showing how much pressure has always been on him.
Now, I have met a woman who is never terrified.
And that he finished his own shaving there. Awesome.
And she is the most royal person I've ever known.
And he realizes just how awesome Charlotte is. Love this scene. Okay, and of course they've consummated and done what
Stay away
Mom
from her.
wanted.
Your Majesty, she came to me.
Oh.
But why would she need a doctor?
Well, because obviously she is with child.
Okay, wow. I will tell you, in the first watching of this, I missed this. But I don't understand why this affected him so much. And so he's scratching this out on the wall. He's actually doing that in the end of the show, too. Her going back to calling him Farmer George. That's so awesome.
What has happened to my husband?
And, of course, now she's coming into the know.
Reynolds! Reynolds, my carriage!
Okay, so she's going to get some answers.
Ah, Charlotte, I did not expect you.
Okay, and so she's going after the Dowager
Up and
Princess.
up. Then, one day, they were all dull. It happened to be the day the king joined me there.
I missed this part of it too. I don't know what I was doing.
I am not a Shakespeare enthusiast.
The one about the mad king, because the king is mad and I live in a mad house.
So she took out. Ha ha. That's
Nearly
funny.
Exhausted from holding the greatest nation in the world on his shoulders.
She must just have
You would
horrible,
engage hideous
a horrible
doctors and
time.
1,000 disgusting treatments.
And now basically telling her about everything that she's
My
done.
family, my language, my life. It cannot be for a man I do not know.
Okay, and really telling her like it is, but he's outside.
Strap me back.
So he was out there hearing all that, and all of these daggone people standing outside of doors listening to stuff that they were not supposed to hear. They need to stop doing that. It'll help. It'll help, I promise. Don't listen to the conversations you're not part of. But the problem is with that conversation is it was not meant to hurt him. It was meant to say that, hey, I came all this way. I gave up my life. It would have been nice if somebody could have been honest with me that there is an issue with the king. And I think that's very fair of her because she has been very supportive. And as we will see in the entire rest of the series, she remains very supportive of the king through everything. And so I think that's extremely important. Now, with that, that brings to an end our recap portion of the video, basically going back and watching video and talking about a couple things. Now comes the review portion of the video where I'm just going to talk about a few things that I thought was important, basically go back, tell you some ups and downs, go back and maybe just rant for a few minutes. But I want to keep it to a relative short amount of time because basically we've seen almost all of this footage from the other point of view, okay? And that brings me to the first thing I want to talk about, and it is a huge up for this episode, and it is changing the point of view and basically filming it like a flashback almost. In that I'm going to tell you, I was mad at the king those first 3 episodes. I was ready to take George and dump him off a ship somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But once we got to see what everything was happening from his perspective, sort of that he had been thrown into this, he wasn't really looking for a wife. He has this disability that affects him, and he's scared for the people to see it. He's scared for his new queen to see it. He's afraid of hurting her, and then even her hurting him, because what happens if she finds out and then won't accept him or won't help him? That can make everything even worse. And so I thought this was brilliant. Shonda Rhimes and the writers, and I mean, this is an epic episode. It is absolutely wonderful. Now, is it as good as the first 3 episodes? Maybe not quite on that level because we had to go back and see everything. But just the idea of switching around the point of view and going back and explaining, I thought it was an excellent use of an episode. And this is episode 4, so we only have a couple episodes left. So now we can go and basically resolve any of our problems. Now, along with that, I'm going to hit a few of the things I mentioned earlier for ups. I love the scene of taking the dog, okay, and giving it to Charlotte, and that ended up being the doctor's dog. I thought was an even bigger up. And the doctor's reaction to losing the dog was interesting, and what the king told him about losing the dog. I thought all that was extremely interesting. Basically, along with that, sort of Charlotte's response to finding out the king had issues. I'm completely fine with that. I don't think she was negative. I don't think she was really meaning she hated what was going on necessarily, or it was meant to disrespect the king. I think she's very fair in her belief that she needed to be told some of these things were going on so that she could have chosen herself. Because remember, early in the first episode, before the marriage, George gave her the opportunity to leave. Basically, he didn't want her to leave, but he gave her that opportunity when her brother came into that courtyard and realized it was the king there. At that point, he said it was her choice. And now we come into the 4th episode, and knowing what we do from the rest of these episodes, we see that while he was giving her the choice to marry him, she wasn't given the choice with all the information. And that could have come into play about what she did. And, she could have said, hey, I'm going home, which if that's the time to say I'm going home, it would have been in that episode 1 before they got married, not after they got married and moving into actually having kids now. That's another big up. I didn't really say much about it, but the fact that we now know Charlotte is pregnant, they've been working on it for a while, and so I love that part. And the king's sort of reaction sort of bothers me that he went and had that major reaction once finding out, and that's when Charlotte basically finds out. She tracks him through the house and goes out, follows him out, and he's basically praising Venus. And so, she finally knows what's going on, or at least some of what's going on. And so I think that's a very good way to handle this. But with that, that's just a few things. I mentioned a lot between sections. Guys, I'm trying to, as I go through and do more of these videos, I'm trying to talk less at the end, but do a lot more talking in that 45 seconds between the sets of clips as much as possible. So I think I said a lot during the actual recap. So I'm going to end that here. I give this episode another an A, and given an A range, it can be A- to A+, maybe an A on this one, where some of the last episodes were A+, but it's definitely another excellent episode, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. And with that, I do want to thank everybody. I think we're over 8,000 views for the last episode of Queen Charlotte. Let's try to get that many on this one. I love this show. I know you guys have loved this show, and let's get those views up there. Now, with that, I hope everyone enjoyed everything. Please subscribe to the channel. We're marching to 400 subscribers. We're over 300. Just have a little over under 100 to go. Comment below. Let's talk about what we see on these videos. I want to do that, and I want to discuss things with you all. And of course, smash that like button and help this video get seen. And with that, I hope everyone has a great evening. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.